Okay, for all questions, you're going to start slope point form. That means I have to give you enough information to figure out a slope and figure out a point. I'm not going to tell them to you. That will be the very first question. You got to do some figuring. So you have to know what I mean by perpendicular slopes and parallel slopes. Okay. If I say x-intercept, you use that to find a point. If I say y-intercept, you use that to find a point. Okay. From slope point, you can then change it into general form. From slope point, I could even ask you to go to slope-intercept form. A lot of times, I'll ask you to go from slope-intercept form to general form. So general form has two requirements. Number one, it must equal 0. As well, there can be no fractions. You have to use your multiplication skills to remove fractions, and we are reviewing that today. And number two, no negatives. So no fractions, no negatives. We're going to teach you a couple tricks to get rid of that. It's pretty straightforward. The more you practice it, you're off to the races. All right. Now, each line only has one general form. That's it. They have many slope point forms, and you can't even tell if they're alike. It's impossible. That's why we get you to change forms. And there's only one slope intercept. So that's why we get you to change forms, so we can tell if you actually got the answer rather than faked it. One thing also to keep in mind, with your general form, there's only one, but we also have something called a standard form, and you'll see that once in a while. Okay? For your standard form, it's going to be just the same, except it's ax plus by equals c. So instead of 0, your constant, okay, the number by itself, is on the other side of the equal sign. Okay? So ax plus by equals c. Any questions? Today's a lot of algebra. Let's practice a little bit. So what we want to do is we have this equation. It's in y equals mx plus b. We want to change it into general form. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is get rid of the fraction. What we do is we multiply by a common denominator. In this case, it's easy. It's simply 4. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply each term. Multiply by 4, and by 4. Okay. So we get 4 times y equals, now this is why we do this, 3/4 times 4. What does that equal? I'm showing my work on the side. Well, that's just like going 4 divided by 4. Okay. And so it equals negative 3x. That's why we do this whole schmaz, is to get rid of your fraction. And then we get plus 20 at the end. Yay, fractions are gone. Right? You guys must be happy now, right? Me too. And we should, you can use this stuff in yesterday's work to make it easier as well. Always get rid of fractions when you're moving things. So much easier. So let's move 3x to the other side by adding 3x. We're always going to do a ton of adding, subtracting here to change the appearance. Okay, we have to give it a little bit of a facelift. 20 stays on the right, it doesn't get moved. But you know what, we could have done it in one step, because now we do have to move the 20 by subtracting it. So we have 3x plus 4y minus 20 equals 0. So let's check our requirements. Are there any fractions? No. Is x negative? No. So this is general form. Okay? Hello? Oh, it's you? Oh. Okay, no worries. Take it back. All right, so 3x plus 4y minus 20 equals 0. Hands up if you think you can do that. Adding or subtracting, easy. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to do a little bit harder stuff. What you want to do with this stuff is you don't want to multiply right now to get rid of the 5. Get rid of brackets first. Okay, otherwise we can get a math error happening. Okay, so remove brackets. So y plus 4 equals negative 2 over 5x plus 6 over 5. Okay. Okay, what do we want to get rid of? The 5. That's a common denominator, so multiply everything by 5. Go ahead, do that now, see what you get. Okay, so your fractions are gone, easy peasy. Now let's move everything to the left side. Two x plus 5y plus 14 equals 0. Thumbs up down the middle. How you guys doing? Good? So. Okay. Now I want to show you something. Okay. You know how we talked about that negative x stuff? Well, let's just say I solved everything on the right side here. So I have 4y equals negative 3x plus 20. You don't have to write this down. I subtract 4y and I get 0 equals negative 3x minus 4y plus 20. That's okay. Right? That's okay. What I have to do, though, now is get rid of the negative x. So I multiply everything by negative 1. What's 0 times negative 1? 0. A little tricky there. Equals plus 3x plus 4y minus 20. And now they're the same. Okay? So you must have a positive x. So if you don't, multiply by negative 1 and it fixes that problem. You won't see that too often. Okay, but once in a while you'll solve it like, oh shoot, negative x, what am I supposed to do? Because I kind of force you to do it. I make you want to do it. And then you can fix it. Any questions? Okay. Next one. Here's the equation. Let's put it into general form first. So multiply, collect like terms, put everything on the left. Go. Okay. So 4x plus 2y minus 10 equals 0. Hands up if you got that. Awesome. So now we're going to show you something that's going to make yesterday's homework a lot easier. 4x plus 2y minus 10 equals 0. Now what we're going to do is solve it for y equals mx plus b. So we're going to solve it for the slope-intercept form. Okay? Y equals mx plus b. So what we have to move is the 4x by minus 4x. Notice how it's the opposite now? When it's on the other side, it becomes a minus 4. That's really important to notice. Now also see the 10, instead of a minus 10, it becomes a plus 10. That's really important to notice as well. Okay. And so we get 2y equals that. So I moved two things at once. Are you guys okay with doing two things at once? You're probably going to end up doing that after a while. No, you didn't have to. You can move one thing at a time, no problem. So what's the next thing we're going to do? We're going to divide by 2. So we're not just going to divide one side by 2. We're going to divide both sides. Look how important it is to make this long division line. So what's negative 4 divided by 2? Negative 2. Okay, plus 5. Now remember from a couple days ago, this is your slope and this is your y-intercept. Okay, that's your slope and your y-intercept. Each line only has one equation in that format. Okay, questions about the algebra? Ask away. What are your questions about what I did, how I did it? Make sure you do things for reasons. Okay. We're going to talk more about noticing that this is positive 4 and that's negative, how they're opposites, and the C is the opposite. But notice the 2 in front of the Y, we divide by it. Not by its opposite, just by this exact number, we divide by it. So that's going to be really important when you start taking some shortcuts. Okay, we'll point that out later. Next, you guys had this in your homework. Find the X and the Y intercepts. So what does the y-intercept mean? X equals 0. So you actually got to use that value, not just stare at it and hope it's going to pop in your head. Put that in. So you get 5 times 0 plus 3y equals 15. Yeah, I cheated. I moved it over to the other side. That's okay to cheat a little. You know you got to put it there, so go ahead and do it. 0 plus 3y equals 15. 3y equals 15. Y equals 5. Now don't forget that's an actual point. Okay? So your y-intercept is an actual point. The value of the point is 0, 5. That's important because then you can put into a slope point equation. Okay. Now for your x-intercept, that means y equals 0. You've got to know that, folks. You absolutely have to know that. So you put into your equation 5x plus 3 times 0 equals 15. Yeah, I cheated again. I moved the 15 over. It's okay. So 5x plus 0 equals 15. 5x equals 15. X equals 3. And that's another point. The point is 3, 0. You could use that in a slope point equation. So we tell you the intercepts for a reason. We tell you them because they're actual points you need to use. We only give you half the information. We'll say the x-intercept is 4. And you have to know, oh, that's 4, 0. Okay? Stuff like that. We'll say, oh, the y-intercept's negative 3. And you have to know that's 0, negative 3. Okay? All right, what we're going to do now is you're going to find the intercepts. So find your x-intercept, find your y-intercept. Go ahead, use that equation and do it all by yourself. Then you can graph the points. I think it's going to be something like that. You can make your line. Okay, find your intercepts, please, right now. Practice it. Okay, you should have done this in your sleep. Be careful for the negative sign over in the red. Right? It's 0 minus 2y, which is negative 2y. Often we get lazy and just drop the negative sign, but it shouldn't be dropped. Okay, if you're taking away 2y, it's a negative 2y. Graph your points now, make a line. So this is line A. Any questions? So this is intercept graphing. You've done this before. Okay. B. It's kind of a special line. What does x equal? -7. Graph that. We went over that on the quiz yesterday. Okay, so graph it right now. Okay, and this here is line B, x equals -7. Any questions? Thumbs up down the middle. How'd you guys do? Good? Okay. Turn it over. This is a very typical question now. This is just like 23, 24, 25 from your homework. We have two lines. Okay. So we want to find the equation of the line that goes through this point. It's perpendicular to this. So perpendicular means find the slope. So go ahead. From this line, find the slope. -2y equals -3x plus 12. I want to put it into y equals mx plus b, because then I can find m right away. Now I can look at this and I'll know that m equals -3 divided by -2, because I know the shortcut, and that's +3/2. Okay, so the next step is to divide this by -2 and this entire side by -2. And so we get y equals +3/2x minus 6. Okay, I actually did the division of each one separately. So I know if this line has m equals 3/2, what's m for the perpendicular line I want to find? Taranjeet? Yep. Okay. So, use the point and the slope. Go to slope point, please. Y minus x minus, and fill in your blanks with what I just highlighted. Go. So it's going to be y minus 5 minus 2/3 plus 1. So now you have to change it to general. Okay, go into general form. So multiply to get rid of your brackets. Now get rid of your fraction. Go. Okay, so times everything by 3. Two x plus 3y minus 13 equals 0. Hands up if you got that. Okay. All right. Read the next. Read 6. Underline important stuff. Go. Okay. So it's $8 for advanced. $12 for the door. Total brought in was $11.20. Okay. So remember, if you buy 10 gumballs from the store for 5 cents each, how much did you spend? 50 cents. Cost times the quantity. So you see that a lot, right? The cost times the quantity. So we're no different even when you go to the movie theater, right? If you go with 5 friends and it's $10 a ticket, how much are you going to have to pay? $60. Because it would be 6, 5 friends, 1 is 6, 6. Just see if you're paying no attention. Okay, so here we go. $8 times the number of advanced tickets plus $12 times the number of tickets bought at the door equals the grand total of $11.20. Okay, we're going to see more of this coming up with the other units. Just cross this part off and let's go down to number 7. Okay. So, actually what I want to write in here is AX plus BY plus C equals 0. Where is M, or your slope? Well, guess what? Your slope comes from these two numbers. That's where. But what happens to A when you move it to the other side? It becomes negative A. And then what's the last step? You divide by B. Okay. Now C becomes negative as well, and you also divide that by B. So this is your slope, and this is your y-intercept. Because that will give you y equals. Okay. So you can do a little shortcut here. So this gives you 3 over 2. So what is this as your slope? What happens to the 6? The 6 becomes negative. And what are you doing with the b? Dividing by b. So from this equation, that's your slope, and it must equal 3 over 2. So a lot of times you're going to look at it and tell me what b is. Who knows what b is? What would you do to go to negative 6? Times it by negative 2. So what would you do down here? Times by negative 2. So b would equal what? Negative 4. Now I'll show you the algebra way. Okay, negative 6 over b equals 3 over 2. Cross multiply. So you get negative 12 equals 3b. Then b equals negative 12 divided by 3. So negative 4 equals b. Okay. So it's your choice which one you use. For harder questions, you will be expected to cross multiply. Yep.
What is 60 from negative?
Because you have to move it to the other side of the other side of the equal sign. So here you have to do that by subtracting 6, and that's what makes it negative because you're subtracting it. Okay. All right. Here's a general form of the equation. AX blah blah blah. What type of line has A equals 0? What's going to happen to the x if you multiply it by 0? It's gone. So what kind of line is this? It's a y equals line. Now tell me, is that a horizontal line or a vertical line? Quickly draw it. Y equals 0. Oh, that's going to be a line that goes like that. Horizontal or vertical? Horizontal. You should be doing this in your sleep. Nightmares, of course. Okay, so horizontal line, that's what they wanted. So it says what type they want, horizontal or vertical. Done. All this means that there's a y and that there's a c. That's all the rest means. Okay. Good. Yes, Puppy? Absolutely, Puppy. Come on in.